So as well as considering these new homes that we need for people, so in Galway, as I said, 40,000 new people in Galway in the next 20 years, a million new people in Ireland, the population increasing by a million in Ireland in the next 20 odd years. But we also have to improve the current built environment that's there. So the current infrastructure in terms of our energy, our water supply, our wastewater systems, our transport networks, and so on in there. And I'm not going to have time to go through all of those. So I'm going to just concentrate on the housing stock in our homes, just to kind of give you an idea at the scale of what's required. So currently the housing stock in Ireland is about 2 million homes, of which 1.7 million are occupied homes. We can see from the graph on the left hand side that the vast majority of these homes are single family dwellings, so either detached, semi-detached or terrace homes. So there's 89% of our homes are single family dwellings. So that's huge. That's one of the largest in Europe. And from the figure on the top right, we can see that that 60% of homes are owner occupied, split approximately equal between owner occupied with a loan or mortgage and owner occupied with a loan without a loan or mortgage in there. So 80% of homes are rented from private landlords, while 9% are rented from the local authority or voluntary organisation. We have approximately 27,000 households that are occupied free of rent, which is a nice place to be. And from the bottom right figure, we can see that the period of construction of housing in Ireland, with the colours matching those in the diagram to the left. So we can see our housing stock has been built across a range of periods, with the highest recorded growth in housing stock being in the 1990s and the early 2000s. And we can see that the blue dominates there in terms of detached houses and the semi-detached house, which are the orange, and there with very few apartments built, although, or relatively speaking, low number of apartments, although in the 2000s, there's far more apartments built in the 2000s than there had been in the 100 years or so on before that. So we need to shift over. We need to shift, I suppose, in terms of our acceptance and our and what a home is to us. That we don't, everyone doesn't need to live in a house with a small garden. That actually living in apartments that are properly designed, properly built, with the amenities right on your doorstep within the building or close to the building, that we can have a far better quality of life within an apartment. And that's something, I suppose, in terms of the social consciousness in Ireland, that we traditionally we don't have it. Whereas we look across Europe, there is more people living in apartments than outside it in many of the countries across Europe. So those 2 million or so homes in Ireland, as I said, they've been built across the different ages, and that means that they've been built to different standards. So the built environment, as I spoke about earlier on, it has evolved over time. And one of the reasons why it has evolved is because there's different standards or different minimum building regulations or building standards that we have to build to. So the current regulations, so from 2019 onwards, we have to build nearly zero energy buildings, and they're known as A-rated houses. In other words, they use a very low amount of energy in terms of their operations. When we go back, pre-1967 houses, they're mainly built from stone and brick walls, and they're poorly insulated. Solid fuel fireplace were a common primary source of heat, and they have a low building energy rating, and that's that rating gives an idea how much energy is going to use to keep the house warm in there in terms of the space heating and also for the hot water. And those ratings are low in terms of the G, N and F. Hollow block and cavity walls are the common type of building in the late 60s, 80s and early 90s, and central heating started to come into place in there with the basic function controls in there. After the first national building standards in Ireland were introduced for the Building Control Act in 1990, then energy efficiency begins to become more important. And the type of insulation improved in there. We got timber frame came in, well insulated cavity wall houses came in, and were built more and more. There's obviously more advanced heating systems and more efficient heating systems in there with better functionality controls that started to come into the market. And as I said then, in 2019, the latest version of the Part L of the building regulations were introduced, and that required all homes built or those receiving significant retrofits to be nearly zero energy buildings. So these highly insulated homes are making use of highly efficient heating systems, such as say heat pumps. They use renewable energies, such as photovoltaics on the roof or solar panels to take energy from the sun, and are built to a very high building energy rating standard, an A rating. So any house there that you buy or you rent has to have a building energy rating, which gives us an idea how much energy it's going to use to operate that building. So this goes into a little bit more detail in terms of that building energy rating. So as I said, the ratings go from G, which is very poor, to an A1, which is the most efficient. And the numbers there would be how much energy in kilowatts per metre squared per year that the building uses for hot water and space heating in there. And as I said, the new Part L building regulations require us to build a nearly zero energy building, which is an A2 rated. So in other words, that the building, the primary energy usage of the building has to be somewhat less than 50 kilowatts per metre squared per year in there. Okay, so that's a requirement that the houses built today have an estimated primary energy consumption of 30% of the energy consumption of something that was built into the 2005 reference dwelling, and 35% of the estimated carbon emissions of a 2005 reference building as determined by the standardised procedure in there. So the building energy ratings or homes are registered on the SEAI, National BER database, and there's over 900,000 homes registered to date. So that figure on the right shows the proportion of homes having various building energy ratings. The average BER is a D1 rating. So in the government action plan, climate action plan of 2019, the government have set a target to retrofit 500,000 homes by 2030. That's 50,000 homes retrofitted each year on average to a BER of B2 or greater. So the estimated cost per home is approximately 25 to 50,000 euro. So the average cost of 325 houses that went through a deep retrofit pilot scheme, going from an average of an F to an A3, was 54,000 euros. So it's a very significant investment from a homeowner and from the government to retrofit these buildings. So to put the target of 50,000 homes in context, since 2013, there's about 23,000 homes have been retrofitted in Ireland per annum. However, in 2019, only 2,600 of these were retrofitted to a B2 or higher building energy rating on record. So what's 50,000 homes? Well, in Galway, there's about 30,000 homes in Galway City. So that would be retrofitting all of Galway City homes, plus another 20,000 homes on top of that. It would be retrofitting all the homes in Cork City, or all the homes in Mayo, or maybe it would take, at that rate of retrofitting, it would take 4 years or so to retrofit all the homes in Dublin City. So it's a huge undertaking. The ambition from the government to retrofit our homes to a BE2 rating are lower, to retrofit 500,000 homes by 2030. And again, that's a significant investment that will be required, something like 35-40 billion euro of investment that will be required.
So Richard Hegarty and Oliver Cannan, who are based in UCD, did a study in 2023 looking at the whole life carbon projection of Ireland's residential sector to 2030. So if you see the red line there, it's the total number of occupied homes in Ireland. So you can see then the number of occupied homes are increasing as the population is increasing. So the housing stock increased by more than 5% to 2.1 million homes between April 2016 and April 2022. So the number of occupied homes increased by 8% from 1.7 million to 1.85 million in that same period, which you can see in the graph. And obviously, as our projected population is going to grow further, the number of occupied homes grows further. So we have to keep continuing to build new homes, and that's estimated at 363,000 new homes by 2030. So at the same time, while we're building new homes, we're obviously doing a significant retrofit program in the country. And the purple dashed line there is the percentage of below B-rated homes that are retrofitted in there. So you can see that we're getting up, expected to have 50% of those homes retrofitted by 2030. So that's 740,000 deep retrofits. So we think about the new homes, we think about these retrofits in there. That means that we are building more efficient homes, or our building stock overall is getting more efficient in terms of the operation carbon, because we are insulating our homes, because we are making them more airtight, because we're using renewable energy to provide our electricity and our space heating and hot water and so on. Therefore, the operational carbon is decreasing from our residential building stock, which we can see there from the blue line. At the same time, obviously, our electricity grid has been decarbonised as well. So that green line there is showing the decarbonisation of the electricity grid. in there. So that's also helping with reducing the operational carbon of our buildings. But at the same time, the actual embodied carbon is increasing. So you can see the orange segment of the graph there. That's the embodied carbon. So the embodied carbon is increasing significantly because obviously we're using more insulation, more materials, and so on in our new builds. And at the same time, we're using materials like insulation, new windows and doors, and so on. New PV systems and other renewable systems in our homes, all that have embodied carbon in them, in both new homes and retrofit in there. So that's increasing the embodied carbon proportion. So effectively, if we leave the embodied carbon intensity unchanged to the construction supply chain in there, if it remains the same, then we're going to end up negating the benefits that we would have had of improving the operational carbon. So that's why we need to have a huge focus on embodied carbon, which we'll discuss about more later on.